Dean Roberts of Leatherwolf. Welcome to 69 Face of Rock. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having us.
I'm good. Let's talk history. So Leatherwolf formed back in 1981. How would you describe the formative years of the band?
Oh, it was just nice playing music, making records, traveling around the world. Writing some good music and playing some good shows. Mm-hmm. That was fun making those 3 records back in the day.
What kind of a band did you want to be back then?
I personally wanted to be a progressive metal band.
Mm-hmm. Eventually, you signed to a record label, right? Heavy Metal America, and released your first album, Endangered Species, right? What can you tell me about that album?
The first album was with Tropical, mm-hmm. and then SPV picked it up, mm-hmm. and they turned it into an album, and then I think that was 1984. I think.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then a bunch of other people licensed it, so I don't remember that particular thing, but I remember it was Tropical at first, and then SPV in Europe turned it into an album.
How would you describe that album?
I loved it. It was just, we were young, we were playing heavy metal, and it was progressive, and it was cool. I thought it was cool.
Mm-hmm. When the album came out, how was it promoted? What did you get to do? Did you get to tour? What was happening?
No, we didn't really get to tour that much. It was... It just felt like we were in between something, Mm-hmm. We didn't get lucky enough to go on, big tours or just get to play that much around the world, off that particular record.
Any local shows?
Oh yeah, we played locally all the time. We were pretty popular in our own town.
Mm-hmm. And what was your local scene like back then?
It was fun, man. When we first started, all of us would just go play parties every weekend, and it was just fun. Pack up the van, go play a party. Cops would come. We'd tear down, go to another party. We just kept playing, mm-hmm. It was fun.
It took 3 years for the next album to come out. What was happening during this time?
We were just trying to get a record deal. Mm-hmm. And we got some management, and that's just how long it took for us to get a deal, because the first record was more of an independent label thing,
Mm-hmm. Very much so. So the next album comes out, this time titled Leatherwolf, and new logo, kind of a new image. What was kind of happening within the band?
I don't think it was like a new image or nothing or mm-hmm. something like that. I just think we just weren't thinking about it, and we just got signed to Island. So I just don't think we thought about the theology of it. About first record was Leatherwolf, and then Leatherwolf Endangered Species, and then I don't think we were thinking about the name of the record.
Mm-hmm. Was Island Records pressuring the band to change at all?
No one ever gave us a hard time about anything.
So you basically have free reign as to what you wanted to do. So 2 years later, actually, how does that album on Island Records do? How did it do?
I think it almost went gold, mm-hmm. But it didn't. And I think Island had high hopes for us, but we just didn't really get to tour that much or go out, play much.
Yeah, that's kind of what I noticed. Like the songs would be on the radio, but the band was nowhere to be found.
Yeah. It was hard for us to get shows. We wanted to play, and we were willing to do it, but we just...
So what was holding you back? I mean, with having a major label back then, that was like a lottery win in a way.
It's a great question. I don't know. It just didn't happen.
Uh-huh.
A lot of our friends,
Now we have some Chicago train.
A lot of our friends, like my friends from Warren, the Poison guys, they caught on and took off, but no, we didn't. Slayer did great. Metallica just smoked. They just did really well.
But you did not give up. 2 years later, Street Ready comes out, and you are clearly continuing what you started on the previous album.
Yeah.
How successful was that album, and how successful was the band at that point?
It still felt like the same. We still couldn't get on mm-hmm. tours and stuff, but it was a. It was a good record. Jeff Gayer, he just wrote some killer songs. And,
mm-hmm.
We went in and recorded them, and it would have been nice to maybe have it a little bit more harder sounding, but it still was a great record, and it was a fun thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Now, the lack of touring seems like probably a management problem, maybe?
I don't really know how that department works, but I just know that we never got on that's up. It just never happened for us.
There were many bands in similar situation, and in fact, many of them work now more than they worked back then.
Well, I don't know what to say about that. It's just,
Right?
you know, we would all like to play, and we made this record hoping to go out and play, but it's just hard.
What are your thoughts on Street Ready now? So many years later.
I think it was a great record for the time. You know, I think it was some good work for some younger guys at the time.
The band broke up by 1991. What led to the breakup?
It was more like 1989. You know, because Kerry and Jeff and Mike were just like together. So I think they wanted to head a different direction. They wanted to get a different type of drummer and a different bass player. So that's what I think happened.
Then.
I quit music and got a job.
What made you come back to music?
I always kind of missed it, and I just I was doing good business-wise, so I just started to get back into it and play a little bit. And you know, my favorite thing to do was to make music, play drums, and play live and tour. So I've always tried to, you know, make that happen if I can.
6 years later, of silence, the band comes back. What kind of sparked that reunion, comeback?
Well, we played a show at the Troubadour. I think it was like 1999 or whatever. And then we got back, we kind of liked it, so we started, we went and played Whack-In. And then Jeff and I were talking, and we wanted to write a record. And everyone was talking about it, but no one really had time to finish it, so Jeff and I finished it with different guys. You know, the World of Silent.
Before we get to that, in 1999, you kind of came back with a live record, right?
Yeah.
Wide Open. How was that received?
No one picked it up. We just sold it on the side.
It was also the last album with Mike Oliveri at that time, your vocalist. Why did he quit the band?
I just don't think he was. I just think he wanted to go a different direction. You know, and he's always been kind of a bluesy guy, and I think his days were just kind of over. I mean, at that particular time, playing this type of music.
Then it gets very complicated with people coming in, coming back, demos being done. Explain that whole period, because that's a tough one.
Well, it's, you know, we made the record with Wade, then you know, as we started playing shows, he quit. So the record wasn't out for so long, so I talked to Mike, and he was interested in just re-singing the vocals and going on tour. So we did that, and we went on tour, and it just didn't go that well. You know, so and ever since then, we've been just kind of sort of doing the same thing, just playing one-off shows every year.
Unchained Live, I think, was the last one with Mike, the live album, right?
Yes.
Again, what was happening? Why did he move away again?
What do I say about that? Well, he made the Unchained record, and that's when we met Rob Matt, and he was just a killer guitar player. So now I started playing with someone that I got along with really well, and I played with really well. And Mikey didn't really quit again until we just parted ways, and like I think it was 2020, which is like 8 years later. So, you know.
Considering your history, I think it's always never say never, isn't it?
Well, I'm getting older, man. And, you know, after I put out the record, I was hoping to play some shows. It's just been slim pickings. But, like, you know, today we get to play with Riot, and, you know, every once in a while we just get some cool shows, so we just go play them.
You kept them going. How did you find Keith Adamiak?
Me and Mike parted ways, and I went back to ask Kerry and to ask Jeff if they wanted to make a record. And then I was doing some stuff, learning some stuff on the computer. One of my friends knew a couple singers, so I was looking for a singer. So he knew two singers, so Keith was one of them. So I called him, and Rob and I had him come over, and then he just was killer. You know, he just sang it so good. We said, try to perform a few more songs to see how he wrote, and it was right up the alley of what I like. You know.
What do you think he brought to the band?
He's a metal singer. He brought, you know, positive attitude. You know, more of a aggressive stories. More of a metal type of voice. More growl.
Your latest album, Kill the Hunted. Tell me about it.
Well, Rob and I, you know, Jeff. We started off with Jeff and Carrie, then Carrie disappeared, and you know, Jeff wrote a bunch of riffs and arrangements, and we got to a certain point to where Jeff just couldn't show up to finish it, and so me and Robbie just finished it. So we sat there for a couple years and just finished, you know, putting all the songs together, and then Keith wrote the vocals and Rob did the majority of the lead. Then Luke came back because he had played some shows for a couple years, you know, back in I think 2016 to 2019, and then halfway through the record he came back and started playing, and and he's another phenomenal guitar player. So I thought that was kind of cool. We got two, you know, and so we just finished the record that way.
It seems like the mindset of the new album is kind of back to how you started. You even went back to using the old logo, right?
I don't know so much about that. We've always had a similar logo with just different designers. You know, Mark drew that logo, but he copied the other one. Mark. Yeah, Mark Sasso. That's what I thought. He's an artist, and he drew that logo, cleaned it up. But it's always been the same logo for years, pretty much.
How did people respond to this new face of Leatherwolf?
A majority of people just loved it. They liked that we went back to the heavier side of Leatherwolf.
It definitely is. It definitely is. I mean, everything about it seems a little bit more punch.
Yeah.
Are there any future plans for future recordings to follow it up?
We're talking about it right now. We're just seeing how things work out with shows and stuff before we jump back into that. And you know, Keith was talking. We're gonna start sitting down like next year because he's got some stuff going on right now, and we're gonna just see what we can come up with.
You're finally playing some out-of-state shows. How does it feel, and what kind of response are you getting?
We're getting pretty good response. It's just fun. You know, it's fun to go out and play.
Definitely. It'll be what, nearly 40 years of the band, right? That's gonna be what, next year, this year? Depends what you go by.
It's 43 years.
Okay, so after 43 years of ups and downs, what keeps you going?
It's just fun to play music, man. At the end of the day, you know, and as long as I can be around guys that can play, it's just fun to be around that level of guys that, you know, can really play their instruments and sing. It's just a cool thing to be in part of.
You obviously come across as very dedicated to your craft. Where's it coming from, that passion?
I don't know. You know, my family comes from the Dvorak's, which are a bunch of classic musician. You know, when I grew up, my grandma was always playing piano, and her brothers and sisters were always playing the cello. I didn't like it, but I think it might have something to do with that.
Definitely.
You know, Dvorak was like a pretty important dude, you know. But who knows? I don't know.
Thank you.
Ciao, everybody.